Good morning everyone and welcome on board the Sunrise Safari. As you can hear, the birds are going bananas, calling all around us, some black-headed oriole, franklins, just to name a couple that are calling. And it's a crisp, fresh morning, actually surprisingly cool. All of us remarked it's quite chilly this morning because when we woke up and we saw a starry sky, we thought it was going to be considerably warmer than it actually is. It's about 14 degrees Celsius, 57 degrees Fahrenheit. But that I can assure you is going to change rapidly, and it's probably going to be around 25 to 30 degrees Celsius by the time we finish this sunrise safari. Andrew and I are in the Mulyati Riverbed, and we decided to start with a beautiful big leadwood tree. Not too sure how many years it's been standing here dead. It could already be probably around 500 to 1,000 years old when it was alive. But the interesting thing with these trees, because they are so dense and the wood is so hard that insects cannot break them down, and they can continue to stand erect for hundreds of years after they've actually died. We came to check the buffalo carcass that a lot of you will be relieved has basically been finished, and Kevin gave us an update on some audio that he heard last night, and there was a lot of hyenas vocalizing. So thanks for that update, Kevin. And there were a lot of tracks of hyena around that carcass, and evidence that they were the ones that have consumed a lot of the leftover meat. So I don't think we're going to be seeing any more action there. Jamie has headed out in the other vehicle to follow up on any sign of the Birmingham males who headed south, it looks like. And interestingly enough, we came out and spent some time with him after we had dinner last night, and one of the males had left the other four behind, and he was calling as he moved south, and the other four who remained where you last saw them on the sunrise safari were responding back to him. So let's hope she has some luck over there. And Nikki and Jess are in the final control room again. So that's our team on the ground. I think VM is heading out with the drone, so you may get some aerial shots a little bit later on. And for now, I think I'm going to head up to our northern boundary, kind of away from all the action. Well, the action that we potentially know of, and that is the lion. I fear that all the lion may have crossed out of our property, but Jamie is going to make sure, like I said. For any of you who may be joining for the first time, it's important that you guys know that this is a live safari. So you're with us every step of the way in real time, and if you'd like to interact with either myself or Jamie, it's really easy to do so. You can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@wildearth.com. Possibly thinking of doing a little bit later on, once we've explored the Jeandré property. If we don't come up with any luck over here, I may head across to Arathusa, maybe Jay. But it may be worth one of us going across there to track two leopards, a female Shadow and her 1-year-old cub. But it sounds like we need to rush you across to Jamie now, so enjoy, and we'll see you a bit later.
Oh, good morning everybody, and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. I have Jeandré on camera with me, and for those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie. We're currently looking at a rather chilly looking Wahlberg's eagle sitting on top of the boerbean up there. He's looking rather chilly and fluffed up, just warming himself up in the first rays of the rising sun. And it's amazing how its sun times have changed so dramatically over the last few days. The sun is coming up now right at 5:45, so definitely a good time to be out and about looking to see what's going on. Now, I know that Scott headed across to check what was happening around that buffalo carcass. Jeandré and I have headed south along Twin Dams. We're going to go and see. We've heard reports that the lions, the Birmingham boys of yesterday, have crossed over our southern boundary. So let's go see what's happening there and see if we can find their tracks and carry on from there. And if they have crossed south, then I think it might be time for a trip into Arathusa, depending on, of course, what else we see. And we can go and try and follow up the lionesses that we saw yesterday. Now, for those of you who might have missed it, I'm sure Scott updated you. The Birmingham boys came rushing in yesterday morning to chase those two Nkuhumas off the buffalo kill that they've been on for the last few days, bringing with them a mystery female who we only saw her very, very briefly with Scott, and we haven't seen her since. Now, we think last night at around 11 o'clock, we think there were sounds of the Birmingham boys, or at least one of the Birmingham boys, mating with that female. However, it seems as though they've decided to the honeymoon couple has decided to head south as well. And I just wanted to double check along this road and make sure that that is the case before working on the assumption that they've all crossed south. Watching the body language of those lionesses. Now, we spoke a lot about it over the few days, saying that they looked unsettled and they looked uncomfortable and nervous. And before the Birmingham boys came in, we were sure that we were hearing contact calls, and we think it might have been from the lionesses trying to relocate the rest of their pride. And I'm not sure if that's what alerted the Birmingham boys to their presence, or if the Birmingham boys smelt the carcass, something along those lines, or just decided to come and investigate. But the scene, and the females immediately took off and moved straight west. They covered about 4 or 5 kilometers in, I'd say, about 40 minutes maybe. They were definitely on a mission to get out of the Birmingham boys' way. And I said yesterday, I do feel sorry for the two of them. They're looking very jumpy, very nervous, and they are young lionesses who will only ever have known the safety and protection of their pride. And all of a sudden, they're out on their own. They're more than capable of hunting for themselves and looking after themselves, but it must still be a very unsettling feeling to be moving around in the big, wide wild without any kind of support. As to where the other two Nkuhuma, the older two Nkuhuma lionesses are, and that sub-adult female, we have no idea. We suspect that Junior will now have moved off and started his life as a nomadic young male, possibly looking for company to join him. But it's been a long time since we've heard reports of Junior. Definite nip in the air this morning as well. I don't blame that poor Wahlbergs for looking fluffed up and chilly. Okay, we're coming up to Gowrie, Maine. Let's double check and see if where these lines have crossed, if they have. This is where they came through yesterday morning, when they came running to go and meet the Nkuhumas south from this side. about that. It seems as though we had a little bit of a signal dip as we went through that dip in the ground. But I think that now that we've reached the crest of the hill, we're back up and running again. Every now and again we find something of a signal black hole in odd places around Djuma. Last night, if any of you were watching the arrow, see the sign of those lionesses. I was wondering if maybe they went south towards the dam. That's where they looked like they were heading last night, very slowly. And if you did, then please let me know, and you can do that on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And it's always useful to have people keeping an eye on those dam cameras. There we go. This is where their tracks have crossed. I'm looking for a nice example to show you because it has been driven over a couple of times already. But this is where Aubrey reported seeing them crossing, or at least seeing their tracks crossing. There's tracks there. Can we get that one? Tracks coming through there, and it definitely looks like more than one individual. I'm going to hop out and just have a look. It has, as I said, been driven over, but I can see at least 4. Oh, the female's crossed as well. The female's crossed over here, and there's a male. Another male crossed here. There you can see the big paw prints. Can we see that, Jeandré? Tracks there coming through, and I think it's most likely, Aubrey said that he saw one set of tracks crossing a little bit further to the west of us, but this looks to me like most of them have come through. There's at least 4, including the female, but because this area has been driven over, I can't count exactly. I think it's safe to assume, usually when they do split up a little bit, it's either in 2s or 3s, or sometimes a 1 and a 4. But I think it's most likely that they've headed off down south as a group. It'll be interesting. I know that Scott and I were having this discussion this morning. It'd be so interesting to try and work out exactly what it is that determines, apart from, of course, the obvious signs like another lion calling or something along those lines. It'd be so interesting to live a day in the life of the mind of a lion and what it is that makes them decide as a group, okay, we're going south or we're going north. Could have been, of course, it could have been in response to another lion's calls. They were very, very vocal last night. They were roaring. I'm sure many of the people who were watching the Djuma Dam camera would have heard them calling on a fairly regular basis from about 8 o'clock till about 11 o'clock last night. From some of our regular viewers and from Jack and Douglas saying that Cheetah Plains reported that they last saw the Birmingham boys, and I do agree with Blair that the fact that they can traverse Djuma might be why we were getting those reports, because they were in the sightings yesterday with the Birmingham boys. I think Andrew was there, so it might have been a report that came from Djuma. But that being said, I don't know, maybe they went on a night drive last night, although the Birmingham boys would only have crossed at around 11 o'clock last night. Or maybe they went out really, really early this morning. It could be. Cheetah Plains is south of us. Although the place where they've crossed is actually, I think, Chitwa. I think this property on my left is Chitwa. Good morning, Impala. It's bouncing out of our way there. And we're still seeing these herds of bachelor boys. He's got quite impressive horns, that one. I must say, all of the impala are looking very healthy to me. Must be so nice to have fresh green food to snack on. It's definitely keeping them in good condition. And of course the impala's regular grooming schedule, which they do have, more so than any other antelope, and one of the few that will groom each other as well, which is known as allo grooming, helps to keep them shiny and clean looking. And for any new viewers, these are the most common antelope species that we see out here. There's lots and lots of them wandering around, and a staple food source for small lion prides, bigger leopards, and wild dog as well. In wild dog in the greater Kruger area, they can make up to 80% of their diet is made up of impala, between 70 and 80%. So that's what they have the best access to. And we're definitely going to be seeing a supplement in numbers, because essentially every single female impala of the right age will be pregnant. Somewhere in the region of 95% of them are pregnant every year. And definitely one of the more beautiful antelope in my opinion. They're disappearing off, and although we have seen the tracks where the Birmingham boys crossed, we still have lions to find. I still want to see if we can follow up with the Arethusa guides and find out what's happening on that side, and as well as to see what's happening with the leopards and where Shadow and Sindile are hiding, or have been hiding over the last few days. So let's continue on our mission and carry on along Gowrie Main. I'm going to cut through Djuma at some point, cut the corner a little bit. I haven't seen a large herd of buffalo in a very long time either. I wonder if the breeding herds, now that the rain has come, have found a nice grazing area in a different place. I'm still getting to know the whole dynamics and environment and the ecology of the different parts of this reserve, but it would be interesting to know. Okay, I just found the place where the other Birmingham boy crossed. So that's at least 4 of them have crossed through, and I think 5. I think it's just because that junction was a bit driven over. The Birmingham boys have crossed south, as I mentioned. They've moved along Gowrie Main up and down a little bit. They've done a bit of pacing and most likely a bit of territorial calling as well. But Janet in Houston, you wanted to know if the Birmingham boys went south, which way did the Nkuhuma lionesses go? They went straight west. If you'd drawn a line, it would have been almost perfectly straight between Djuma and Red Dam, maybe a little bit north. But they took one look at them, went west across Quarantine, trotting at times, even though they had very full buffalo bellies. They were not keen on sticking around. So they stopped at Red Dam at the end of the sunrise safari after all of the drama that had taken place during the morning. And they settled down there, and when I started the sunset safari yesterday, it was a bit of an aborted start because we then had communications issues and we had to come back to camp, but they were still there. And when I went back in the evening, they were slowly moving south from Red Dam, but right across in Arathusa. And that area of Arathusa is part of their core territory, so they're so familiar with it. And I think they're going to be sticking as closely as possible to the most familiar and places they consider safe over the next few weeks, unless they do reunite with their two other lionesses. Whilst we continue on and check out the boundary areas and see if we can follow up on those two lonely lionesses, I believe that Scott is by the hyena den to see what the hyenas have been up to during the night, and we definitely heard them calling around the carcass. So let's see if they're looking well fed and fat and what's happening there. I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. We've just arrived at the hyena den site. It doesn't appear to be active. The turbot mound's just off to our left there, but there's nothing to see there. But I have been told that the hyena like to move a little bit further north from the den. And that's some reports from Jamie. She's spent more time here than I have, so I'm just going to try and creep around here and see if we can't find any of them lurking nearby. I was hoping that we were going to have some luck, because I was guessing it was this clan that were the ones that managed to finish off that buffalo carcass, and I would have thought the adults would have come back to nurse their cubs and to relax a little bit after a successful night out. But as often happens, we get proved wrong and our predictions and theories don't provide us with any useful sightings. But the good news is that I've got word on the game drive radio that there's a tiny nearby. So we're going to hit and see if we don't get lucky there. Since you left us, we've been checking our northern boundary, and we found some male leopard tracks, but after close inspection it looks like they're from 2 nights ago. So not from last night, therefore probably not worth following up on. Oh, sorry, I'm told the audio skipped at the inopportune moments and you didn't hear what the tiny was. It's a tiny giraffe. Giraffe, baby giraffe. So it's not too far from us, and we're going to head across there, and hopefully it's still around by the time we get there on Sandy Patch Road. Of Jamie quickly and see what her plans are and where she's working, so that I can therefore make my own plans, because I'm thinking Arathusa might be a good option, and it doesn't matter whether it's myself or her that head across there, but I think it's going to be useful for one of us. Jamie for Scott. Jamie, not sure what your plans are, but I'm thinking of heading across to Arethusa. Dam site's inactive. Okay, copy, thanks. Just motioning to Aubrey, he had similar intentions to me, and he was just making his way in here, but sadly it is inactive. But at least we saved him the effort of off-roading in his limousine, which is a lot harder to negotiate off-road than our short little vehicles, which can wiggle their way through the smallest of gaps. Probably actually just going to follow him. He came from our right to our left, but I think he's also planning on heading to the baby giraffe now, so we'll just follow in tow. It is an absolutely beautiful morning, not a breath of wind just yet, and all these bright green leaves give an incredibly fresh and new feeling of new life. And it's at a point now where it's enjoyable, but it's not hampering our ability to see into the bush. But in the coming weeks, we're probably going to only be able to see a quarter as far as we can at the moment. It's going to become a lot thicker, and we're going to have to sharpen our focus on trying to find you guys some animals. We've got some good news, and that is that VM has situated himself in a beautiful area, and he's got the drone up in there doing a few circles around the Buffelshoek waterhole. And speaking of the beautiful morning, what a better way to see it than from up here. Quick fly, and I'll be chatting to you while you're up there. Enjoy, and we'll see you shortly.
And we apologize for Scott's signal break up there. Now, we've been communicating on the Game Drive channel, and he's going to head across to Arethusa this morning, since I spent most of yesterday there. And I will continue on my search around Djuma and see what else we can find. Lots and lots of ellie tracks around, so keep your eyes peeled for big dark shapes hiding in the bushes. They're somewhere around here. And of course, one cannot When one traverses Djuma, you cannot help but look for signs of the Queen of Djuma, Karula. I haven't seen her in a long time, not since that surprise visit where she popped out on the sunrise safari completely by chance. And I also haven't seen her track, so I wonder if she's hiding somewhere in the drainage lines around the lodge. It seems to be her preferred place to disappear from view. Might be a little bit tricky. Let me try. Oh, nope. It was a bit of taking a bit of a chance there. There's a little blue waxbill on the tree. He was so beautifully highlighted in the morning sun, but the nature of waxbills is really not to sit still in any way, shape or form. Always on the move. Birds are one of those things that can be so tricky to film. They definitely don't always cooperate in the way that you want them to. Got some wonderful news from a viewer who comes to us in Australia. Now, Maggie M has been watching for a couple of weeks, and we regularly answer questions from Maggie. And she tells us that she's been keeping a list of all the things we see, from mammals to birds to reptiles and fish, which is very, very thorough. And apparently the inchworm that I had yesterday on my hand has brought her total up to 100. And you think it's wonderful, Maggie, that we have such diversity. Well, there is so much more to still show you. I'll try and catch some weird and wonderful birds. And the really nice thing is, because we're coming into summer now, we're going to start seeing so much more as well. From a couple of different species of tortoises to the different snakes we might see, scorpions, and of course the wonderful migratory birds. We get some beautiful ones that will be coming back soon. The cuckoos are coming very, very soon, and the woodlands kingfisher as well. So we'll be keeping an eye out for them. And for any new viewers, I would strongly encourage you to do the same. The wonderful thing is, first of all, you never know what you're going to find on a live safari, but also you've got time to build up a list and collect things and even take screenshots and share them with other people. Let's see what we can find at Treehouse Dam. Very quiet. Treehouse definitely holds water better than the Djuma Dam. Although I always concentrate very hard, let me put it that way, I always concentrate very hard whilst driving along this damn wall, which I'm sure Jeandré is grateful for. It is slowly reaching the point of being washed away. We're going to have to, at some point, pack it up and strengthen the wall. I wonder if the Birmingham boys came to drink here. They crossed just ahead over there, and I think that could well be the case. They came here for a drink sometime last night and then carried on. And this is where we found, or close to where we found that one. Oh yes, they did. I could see their tracks coming up. They went and had a drink and then carried on back and across. So they were here sometime last night. You guys had another one of our wonderful aerial views from the drone, and Georgianne in Illinois, and I'm sure many of the other viewers would like to know where they were. And unfortunately, because Scott went just at the wrong time, he went through a very dodgy signal patch, he didn't get to hear. Now apparently they were flying over Buffelshoek Dam, so that was the dam you were looking at. I don't know if you could see any hippo from there, but maybe he's moving out and about again. Bob the Bachelor of Buffelshoek Dam. But yes, it was the Buffelshoek Dam that you were flying over. And it's such a wonderful experience to get to see everything from the air and find things happening there. It gives you such a whole new perspective of the vastness of the area that we get to traverse in. And it's so exciting for me to think that the animals that we're seeing have got an area to wander around in. Even if we're limited as to where we can go, which makes total sense, the animals here have got a traverse area. They can go anywhere in 3 million hectares worth of wild area. It's such an awesome feeling to know that they just happen to be here and they are truly wild. It's an area that's bigger than the size of Wales, the country. Absolutely enormous. So the animals that you see are extra special because they've chosen to make Djuma and Arathusa game reserves their home. Confused about road names. I know where they all lead. I just can never remember which is which. One of them is called Elephant Carcass and one of them is called Scavenger's Track or something along those lines. And then there's Treehouse, and I always get them confused in my head. I think we're on Elephant Carcass Road now. And this drainage line is very, very productive for leopard sightings. They like to hide away in this thick vegetation. Aside from my very regular sightings of Sindile and a couple of Kwetile and Tingana and Shadow obviously, there's still so many leopards that I haven't seen in this area. Karula continues to play games with me on a regular basis. I see her ever so briefly, and then she somehow manages to duck away and lose me. But I'm still waiting to have a chance to see Quarantine and Kunuma, the two young males that are Karula's sons, and I've heard so much about them. They sound like very entertaining leopards, and young males are so much fun because they're so full of curiosity. We have an elephant, not quite an elephant roadblock, just an elephant inconvenience. knob thorn that's been casually pushed into the road. Jeandré might just have to dodge out of the way of those hooked, vicious thorns. Oh. Now, whilst we continue on our perusal of Djuma, I believe that Scott has a wonderful little baby giraffe to show you. So let's go have a look at that, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. And we've got to this tiny baby giraffe and its mother. And Andrew just started off with both of them, so you've got an idea of how small this youngster is. Very difficult to say how old, but I'm guessing under a month. It looks incredibly small and cute. As soon as we got you, you joined us, so I haven't had a very close look at it, but if you don't mind helping, if the youngster turns broadside to us, we must look very carefully to see if we can't see any sign of its umbilical cord. There's a strong chance that we may see a dried out, stiffened piece of umbilical cord coming from its belly. Cute. It's got an oxpecker on its right shoulder there, which is a highly specialized bird which will feed on the parasites that latch onto a lot of the animals out here and suck their blood. An interesting thing with young giraffe and the relationship with their mothers, they don't often stick as closely to their mothers as you would think they should. And quite often you can actually find very young giraffe with no adults in sight. Well, while that youngster's playing hard to get, it might be worth spending some time watching its mother feed. It's much closer to us. I'm going to get you some great shots of it feeding on a knobthorn acacia which has been stunted by various animals, probably elephants, as well as a lot of giraffe feeding on it. And the mother, just like the youngster, has also got an oxpecker, except this one's on its head. Look at how meticulously it combs its beak through the fur of the giraffe, looking for these parasites. They can cause a little bit of irritation to the animals that they're feeding on, but they are doing them a great deal of good. You may have seen the giraffe shake its head there as it got a little bit close to its eye. Anna Marie's made a good observation, and that is that the ossicones, which are these horn-like structures on the giraffe, are incredibly furry on the youngster, as well as the mother actually. They've both got beautiful heads of hair, and I'm guessing this could be a young mother. She looks to be in great condition, but the youngster will certainly have far more furry ossicones. Hard to say whether the youngster's a male or a female. And hopefully we'll get some better views of it. Now, there we go. Look carefully. Oh, I think I can see the umbilical cord. I'm not sure if you guys can. And it's probably about 6 inches long, a very thin, dried out umbilical cord. And you can see it nibbling on a few leaves there. So even though it will be highly reliant on its mother for milk, you can see it is also substituting its milk diet with a bit of vegetation. And I guess this could help us to understand exactly how old it is. Now, I'm not sure exactly when young giraffe will start feeding on foliage. I'm guessing it's not from day one. I'm not sure if any of you may know the answer to that question. When will a young giraffe start feeding on leaves? Look at how much bigger the mother is. And she is in absolutely beautiful condition. It could very well be her first youngster, judging by the great condition that she is in. She's got such a pretty blonde mane running down her spine. Aren't they such wonderful animals? And look at the comparison of their tails. That's awesome. The mother's long black tail is probably about 50 centimeters in length, whereas her youngster's just a little pom-pom. And to give you guys a better idea of how big these animals are, the mother, when she's standing upright, is probably around 4 meters in height, possibly a little bit more. And the baby will be half of that, around 2 meters. They're born at about 2 meters in height. Oh, what's Mom seen? Is there a leopard behind us? I think she's just doing a routine check. Yep, nothing to worry about. And speaking of leopard, the Anderson male leopard quite recently caught and killed a baby giraffe. It's an incredible feat for a leopard, but it does mean that not only lions will be a threat to this baby giraffe, but also big male leopards. In this area it would be Tingana. That would be the big male leopard that this young giraffe needs to look out for. And interestingly enough, the Anderson male not only caught and killed a young baby giraffe, but also had the strength to be able to hoist it up into a tree. That's certainly not what we would want to see this morning, but it is a reality of what could happen. And a host of birds calling around us. A wonderful dawn chorus. The emerald spotted wood doves, one of my favorite little doves, is beginning to call loudly at the moment, which is great. It's a wonderful call that you can listen out for. It goes something like this. You can hear an orange-breasted bushshrike. licking her lips in satisfaction. I'm sure a lot of you may wonder why she would have left that big green bush. There's still a lot of leaves on it. But most of the vegetation out here have got security systems to avoid animals feeding on them for extended periods of time. And what they'll do is when they realize they are under attack, they will start pushing out bitter tannins, which make the plant distasteful. And that's why not only giraffe, but a lot of other animals will move from bush to bush without completely decimating them. I'm just going to reposition quickly. I've got a feeling this young giraffe is going to try and take a drink from its mother. Big thank you to Patty in Washington for sending us through an update on when young giraffe will actually start feeding on leaves, and apparently it's 4 months of age. Now, I can't help but feel that this giraffe is younger than 4 months, but maybe I'm wrong, and it would be interesting to know if there is any other research or documents saying that they could start a little bit younger than that. It would be great if that is the conclusive age, because then we'll know that this giraffe is around 4 months. But I'm not sure what you guys think. I can't help but feel it does look a bit younger than that, but that's the thing that we always mention out here. It's incredibly difficult to gauge the age of animals unless, of course, you've raised one yourself. It would be very difficult to know exactly how old they are. And another update from Linda on Twitter, who's come with the same stats as Pamela, saying that they again will start eating leaves at 4 months of age, but will also nurse until 9 to 12 months. So thank you very, very much for those updates. I also find it hard to believe that that little dried out umbilical cord would be able to survive 4 months of running through all these bushes without breaking off. So that's, excuse me, that's another thing that's playing on my mind that makes me think that the giraffe is slightly younger than 4 months, but I guess if those facts are correct, I am wrong. So she's gone from one acacia tree to another. This one, unlike the knobthorn acacia, has got long straight thorns like toothpicks. And watch how delicately she manages to work her way around them. Santa Anna asks a good question, and she would like to know, how fast does a young giraffe run in comparison to an adult? Well, adults can run in excess of 50 kilometers an hour, which is, I'm guessing, somewhere around 30 miles an hour. We use the kilometer scale here. Although I did have a vintage car as my first car, which speedometer was read in miles per hour. So it'll probably be around 30 miles an hour that an adult can run. And I'm guessing the youngsters aren't too far behind that. For a lot of the herbivores, it's important that the youngsters are born with the ability to be able to run quite quickly. Otherwise they would be gobbled up by the first predator that came along them. So I'm guessing this youngster wouldn't be too far behind its mother if they were on a foot race. So somewhere probably between 40 and 50 kilometers an hour. I wouldn't put it much slower than its mother. And what we are going to be able to see over the coming months is a lot of youngsters, be it wildebeest, zebra, impala, warthogs, that are tiny but very, very quick. And like I said, if they weren't, they would be gobbled up very quickly. Well, thank you very much, Teresa, for making this comment and observation. Teresa thinks that this young giraffe is not necessarily feeding, but it was just kind of nibbling on the leaves, copying mom, and possibly not even swallowing them, but just kind of mouthing them, you could say. I didn't have a close enough look, but that is a very good point. That means that maybe this giraffe is a little bit younger than 4 months. Look at how beautiful mom's tail is. The perfect fly swat. Looks like she's got quite a few scars on her rump. Not sure if you guys can see them as well. But nothing too serious. I got my binoculars up to have a closer look to see if any lion had possibly tried to jump on her back at some stage, but it doesn't look like that has happened. Cannot express how grateful I am for all of your updates on these baby giraffes, and the latest one is from JJ, and he's got some research that's come from the San Diego Zoo saying that it's usually between 3 to 4 months of age that young giraffe will start ruminating, but anywhere from 3 weeks of age they've been known to actually start nibbling on leaves and kind of testing it out, but they can only start ruminating from 3 to 4 months of age. I think I'm going to try and get onto this road on the other side here and do a big loop around so as to not scare these giraffes, but I would like to try and get you a closer view of the youngster. Probably going to take us quite a while to get there, but that's perfect. Bless you, Andrew.
Thank you, sir.
Pennsylvania and Clay have brought up a good topic, and that is How defensive are giraffe mothers over their young? Will they actively try and protect them against predators? And yes, I think certainly with an animal like a leopard, there's a strong chance that the giraffe would come in with its front feet hammering down. That's how they attack or try and defend themselves against predators. I've never actually seen a giraffe calf being attacked by any predators. I'm not sure if you heard that woodpecker drumming. I'm just trying to work out where it was. But yes, there is a strong chance that adult giraffe will in fact try and defend their young against predators. But it would be interesting to know how oh, look here, Andrew, quickly. It's nursing. I'm just going to try and reposition. I don't think it's going to move off while it is nursing. But it would be interesting to know how the Anderson male managed to successfully catch that giraffe without the mother chasing it off. This. Can you believe what a lucky view we've got? This is incredible. I've never had such a wonderful angle of a giraffe nursing. And I'm just going to fire off a few photos quickly, so don't mind me. But this is a first. This is a very, very unique angle. She's testing every single teat to see which one is the most productive. This is so cool. I'm sure a lot of you are taking screenshots, but if you're not, best you start. This is a very unique sighting. And I'm told Blair was just asking, where are the giraffe's mammary glands? Well, Blair, I think this answers your question. Most mammals have them towards their rear quarters. The elephant is one that has them under the front quarters. This giraffe baby just can't get enough of this tasty milk. And is continuing to try and get more, but it looks like Mom says enough's enough. such an adorable little creature. Hey? I think what it might do now is run off excitedly, so be ready for that. Although it's moved through some thick vegetation here now, so regardless of what it does, I don't think we're going to be able to show you. Let me just try and reposition ever so slightly quickly. Spot. This mother is incredibly relaxed, so we're fortunate. I'm going to ask you to take a gamble and go for that. This is a roller, but it's an interesting one. It's a purple roller. And I think it's going to do its display for us. Hopefully it'll be in camera shot. Come on, don't let us down. And that was the purple roller that you could hear calling, alright, 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 alright. And they usually make that call and ascend before doing their rolling flight display. We very seldomly get to actually see the purple roller doing that. I wouldn't believe this mother giraffe has come right up to this knobthorn acacia. And we're going to be able to get you some great close-up views of her nibbling away. On the very distinctly Mickey Mouse-eared shaped leaves. What I'll try and do is, once she has finished feeding, or once we've moved off, I'll break off a branch and show you exactly how they appear to be Mickey Mouse-eared in shape. But that is one of the characteristic features of the knobthorn acacia tree. Just going to reposition again. She is very relaxed, and I'm going to take a gamble, because we very seldom get you close-up views of them feeding. And if she continues, once we have repositioned, I think this is going to be a first for a lot of us. Stay here, don't go anywhere. Okay, let's see how this works out. It's a bit thick. Andrew may be able to get you into some very unique views of her nibbling. You can probably actually hear her pulling the leaves off. Told the wonderful screenshots are streaming in, so well done to all of you who are snapping away. And Donna's just made a comment saying that I've got the best job in the world, and yes, we certainly are very lucky to be involved in this wonderful Safari Live experience. Oh, look at those eyelashes. Maybelline, eat your heart out. Oh, she is in such great condition. She is a supermodel of the bushveld, I think it's fair to say. and so fortunate that she's been so relaxed with our presence. Time to wiggle into another position though. And don't worry, Blair, told you a little bit frustrated that as you sent your question through, the cute little giraffe started nursing. But that's nothing to worry about at all. And if anything, it's the ultimate answer to your question, because you got to see it happening rather than hear me discussing what would happen. So you got the ultimate answer. Look at those little ossicones. Cute little tufts of fur. Okay. Again, we're going to have to try and find a good place to enjoy our next views of them from. So, get onto the road. Let's see if we can't work our way back in from here. On the Game Drive radio is asking, where are all the ingwe? Meaning, where are all the leopard? So, I'm sure a lot of you are asking the same question. Sadly, I don't know the answer to it, that question. But maybe one will pop up later on this morning. They've got to be somewhere, that's for certain. Andrew's just wiping his camera's nose quickly, because he's got a cold, Andrew. Best spot, but let's see what happens and what this youngster does. Well, good morning, Dee, on Twitter, and good to have you with us. Dee's interested to know how many different types of giraffe do we get here on Djuma? And it's a good question because there are 9 different subspecies of giraffe throughout Africa, but we only have one that occurs naturally here in South Africa, and that's the southern giraffe. When I spent some time up in Kenya and Tanzania, I was lucky enough to also see the Maasai giraffe, the reticulated giraffe, and the Rothschild's giraffe. So those are the other 3 that I've seen up there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my book out to show you the differences between the subspecies. It's actually quite remarkable. They are considerably different to one another. And the best way for me to show you those differences is with a few images. Hello, Baba. Aren't we strange creatures, us humans? Hey? You're born taller than most of us will ever be. would be wonderful to know what's going through that little mind. But something important for us to take note of now is that a lot of the animals in the Sabi Sands from a very young age do get exposed to people in vehicles. They hear our voices, they smell our scent, and importantly also they hear the vehicle's voices and the vehicle scent. And the combination of those two things plus our behavior reinforces to them over time that there's nothing really to be cautious of. And that's what allows us such great views. That's why its mother was probably so relaxed with our presence. A little bit earlier we were only meters away from her as she fed. I really want to get a sequence of this young giraffe running up to its mother, and I think it could happen now. As its mother disappears a little bit of a further distance away, at any point this young giraffe may start galloping in her direction, and it'll be so awesome to show you that. Although for now it looks like this youngster's resting in the shade. It's heating up quite dramatically. Every minute the sun rises higher up into the sky. But while we wait for this young giraffe, what I'm going to do is show you quickly some of the different giraffe that you get. Now my favorite giraffe is this one on the top left, the reticulated giraffe. Look at how clearly defined the individual puzzle pieces are. They don't kind of dissolve into one another like the Maasai or Kenyan giraffe. This looks very similar to our southern giraffe, but its puzzle pieces are very kind of cryptically shaped, as if they've almost been cut very jaggedly with scissors. Then if we look on the bottom left, you'll see what I mean, how this Maasai giraffe looks very different to the southern. So this is what we're looking at here. Now the Rothschild's giraffe is quite similar to the southern giraffe. They're extremely rare. They're the most endangered of all giraffe species. They only occur in a few places in Kenya, still in the wild. And they've got distinctively long white socks, so their markings don't come far down their legs. And they're, I think, the most threatened of the giraffe species. So there's 4 of the different types, but you also get the West African, the Thornycrofts, and the Angolan giraffe, just to name a few of the other subspecies. I need to take this jacket off before I self-combust. Been so focused on this cute little giraffe that I've forgotten that it may be worthwhile to get rid of this big jacket. Andrew's doing the same thing, it looks like. So give us a moment here, and I'm going to continue repositioning the vehicle while Andrew strips down into his Speedo. View here, nice and close to both of them. Again, a beautiful close-up of Mom and those beautiful eyelashes of hers. Well, Nancy in Nevada noticed that this mother giraffe had quite a few teats that could possibly cater for more than one baby. But most often, with all of the herbivores out here in Africa, they will usually only give birth to one youngster, other than the warthog, which is one that comes to mind. But twins are rare. It is a possibility, but it's a rarity. So I've certainly seen very, very few twins in all my time here, and never seen giraffe twins. It's incredibly how alert it looks. You know, compared to humans at least, the young human kind of only starts taking notes of possible danger maybe when they get to, geez, for some their 20s, I guess. But I find it fascinating how alert that youngster is, looking its head, poking its head around, twisting its ears from side to side. And obviously that's very, very important for their well-being. If they don't take note of their surroundings, they could quickly become somebody's meal. I'm going to try and reposition again, but it sounds like the drone is up in the air again and may want to get you guys another flight. So there is a chance that we're going to shoot you across there. That's something to look forward to, but we're not going to send you across there just yet. Now, the giraffe is feeding on another very thorny plant, and the reason why a lot of the herbivores will target the thorny plants is because those are the ones with the very tasty leaves. And watch closely, she's been extending her tongue extremely far out of her mouth, and I hope she does it again. It looks like she's stopping on the buffalo thorn for now. And I think this is a great moment to send you guys up into the African skies for a view of what's going on down below. Please be so kind as to keep your eyes peeled for any leopard along the way, or lion, but there may be some bigger animals that may pop into screen.
Herd, and you're watching me from the sky above as they move into a drainage line, and we'll be coming back down to me in a moment, but listen to it and just have a look at what's happening below us. You can see those dark blobs of the elephants as they move through a very thick knobthorn thicket. You can see the bright and different coloured greens around this drainage line. I'm trying to work out which way these ellies are going and why. I think they're going to... We're tucked away under this marula tree. I think they might be heading to water, although they seem to have stopped a little way ahead of us. But when I first found them, they were moving very, very fast down. Welcome, and here we are sitting with the elephant herd. Unfortunately, they've all moved into this incredible thicket that you see ahead of me, mostly knob thorns and other things that you often find around a drainage line like this. I'm going to try and reposition so that we can get another view. But I don't want to go crashing after them. I cannot go crashing through here. It will just unsettle them and they'll keep running away. But there you can see how thick it is in there. I'm going to try and loop around so we can catch up with them. Let's see if we can manage it. There, still. Get to him. She is going to move as well to the thick drainage line. Just watching to see what she does. If she's going to stick around or if it's worth going back. I think it's worth trying to get around them. They're all very highly mobile. Turn to navigate through without hitting our antenna. Okay, let's see if we can find a way around this. But how amazing was that giraffe sighting that you had of that little baby once again? It sounded absolutely incredible from the reports I was getting. Often you get to have such a wonderful giraffe sighting out in the open, especially with such a young baby. It's going to be quite a long time until I can find us a good position to see these elephants. The bush is very thick here. I'm hoping we're going to be able to find them on the other side of the drainage line. And while I drive around and look for them, let's head back to Scott and his amazing baby giraffe, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. You can hear a go-away bird calling above us. Quack. Hello. Not too sure what it's quacking about. Andrew's going for it. It's nestled in. Oh, off it goes. Well done, Andrew. At least we got a glimpse of it. One thing that I've been hoping to show you guys is this youngster running around, but we haven't been in the right spot to get that yet. Hopefully we will get to see it at some stage this morning. But on the topic of this youngster running about, Ramey in San Diego would like to know if this youngster does know to run away from predators. And yes, I don't think it would know without its mother's help what a predator is. But as soon as its mother starts running, it's probably going to follow very closely. And we did touch on it a bit earlier that most young prey animals will be able to move at quite high speeds from even just a few days old, because if they didn't, they would be sitting ducks for the predators. One interesting thing about giraffe is, I said this youngster would have to just see its mother running off and follow follow it. They are not vocal animals. They very seldom make any noises. I've only heard a few grunting burps from them on a handful of occasions. But there is some new research that's been discovered on giraffe, and that is that they hum, mainly at night apparently, but the experts are not too sure exactly how this humming translates into their communication. The fact that they only tend to do it mainly at night means that they don't have a way to communicate during the day, but they do make this humming kind of noise that is audible to the human ears. I don't know, possibly there's some kind of an infrasonic frequency that they also transmit to one another in order to communicate. But quite remarkable how such a large animal, such a well-known animal, has got so much that we as humans still need to discover about them. I'm just going to reposition again. And I think after this we're probably going to move off and see what else is going out here. As wonderful as the sighting has been, I think we have spent enough time with this youngster and her mom. Still haven't actually worked out if it's a male or female baby. Not sure if any of you have managed to work that out. What is going to be our best option from here? Let's get onto the road and maybe we can get one more view of them as we head south. To Gary in Huntington Beach, and I've been talking about how cute the little furry Aussie cones are, these horn-like structures, and Gary would like to know what exactly are they used for. Well, to be honest, not much, Gary, and you probably would have found many hundreds or thousands of years ago giraffe had regular horns like a lot of the antelope in this area, but they over time lacked the requirement to use them, and that's why they've dissipated into these tiny little stumps. Having said that though, male giraffe will use them to batter one another in combat. They swing their necks, it's called necking, and heads into one another, and those small blunt horn-like structures will certainly pack a punch, but the females have got no major use for them. Like I said, it's a vestigial limb that has become of no major use to the giraffe in this day and age, but many, many years ago when they were evolving into the animals they are today, they may have had much longer horns. Possibly they traded in horn length for neck length. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, how on earth do giraffes sleep? I know Angie in Portland has expressed interest to know how they go about that, and it's a good question. Adult giraffes will lie down, but by lying down I mean Their legs will be folded, but their heads will still be upright. Their heads and necks, so they won't be completely flat to the ground. But I have seen young giraffe lying completely flat on the ground. So I think the younger the giraffe, the more likely it is to see them completely flat, head on the ground. But when adults do want to sleep or relax, they can fold up those long legs, but usually keep their head elevated. But with a lot of four-legged animals, they can be in a state of sleep when standing upright. It's difficult for us as humans to understand or comprehend, because we obviously would probably topple over if we tried to sleep on our two legs. But the fact that a lot of these animals are four-legged means that they can plant themselves down quite comfortably without toppling over and still be in a state of sleep while standing up. Another thing that I guess us as humans forget is that we have evolved and been allowed to sleep deeply at night without too much concern for threats, although in this day and age it depends where you live, I guess, and you might need to sleep with one eye open. But technically we can be a lot more relaxed in a lot more stages of our day and night than animals can, because they never know when a predator could be sneaking up on them. So even when they're asleep, they're still listening to their surroundings, they're still aware of their surroundings. You can just see the baby's little mouth poking out in front of her mother's chest there. Let me move forward an inch or two, and we will reveal the bubba once more. What an awesome shot, just this size of those patterns on the mother's shoulder compared to those tiny little patterns on her youngster's neck. Cute. Well, it's time to say goodbye to this very hospitable giraffe family, and I think this could well have been the longest I've ever spent with giraffe whilst on safari with you guys. Okay, hold on. I think we might have to extend the giraffe show by just a minute or two. And if you don't mind zooming into Mom's mouth, I think she's started chewing the cud. So she's acquired enough vegetation now. Okay, she's just swallowed, it looks like. Now watch her throat very closely. Boom. Another bolus of cud just popped into her mouth, and she's going to chew on this now. This is one of my favorite things to watch. And she'll chew on it for maybe 20 or 30 seconds, ruminating. So this has already been chewed on, and she will continue to reprocess these leaves to make sure they are digested to the utmost degree. Okay, well, I think she just swallowed a little bit there, not all of it. She still needs to finish a bit more chewing. Nearly done. Now watch closely. She's going to swallow this mouthful, and if you watch the underside of her throat, okay, now watch closely, you're going to see the next bolus coming back up. Whoops. There it goes. Incredible. Okay, well, Jamie is calling you guys across to her vehicle for a change of scenery. And we would also like to head off onto Arith to see what's going on there. We could be missing out on some action. So I'm going to race across there, get an update on the radio, and hopefully have some good news for you in the coming minutes. But for now, over to Jamie, and goodbye to this cute little giraffe.
Welcome back, and as you can see, we have relocated these elephants once again. They are very much on the move, so we're not going to be able to stay with them and follow them through this block. It was very, very thick where they went. They crossed over the drainage line. I thought that they were going northwest, but they are just going straight west towards the drainage line around the Mulyati. Now, they're definitely on a mission. They're just pausing to snack every now and again. And then they're going to be on their way, but we'll try and stay with them. We can't follow them through the block, but we can try and loop them and figure out what is in this herd's, what's going on in this herd's heads. Are they going for water? Are they going for different food types? I'm very curious to know. You can see they're moving through the very thick block. There's probably about 10 of them moving through. Maybe even a little bit less. It's quite hard to tell when you're counting elephants through trees. It's quite a small herd unless there's more further off somewhere. Here you can see a little one moving through. Try and reposition so that we can get a view of these ellies as they start to disappear. And as I do that, you guys have been watching that wonderful giraffe mother and her baby, and you would have seen all of the little oxpeckers, the birds sitting on them to catch the ticks. And Lisa from Sherman Oak, welcome to the Sunrise Safari. You were wondering why it is we never see oxpeckers on elephants. And the answer is simply because their skin is so thick that they don't get the same external parasites that, say, buffalo or giraffe or even rhino get. They've just reached that point where, in their evolutionary history, they don't get those external parasites. They might get one or two itchy spots, which is why they coat themselves in mud, in the same way that rhino and buffalo do. But their skin is just too thick for external parasites to sit upon. Oh my goodness, I think we're reaching the end of the road here as well. If I go crashing after them, it's only going to upset them. There's a couple of Nyala in the background as well. I'm not sure if you could see them running away from the elephants. And it's not unheard of for elephants to chase antelope species that they see around them just for fun. They do entertain themselves that way. You can just hear them moving off and crunching through the bush. Now, I don't think that we should be following them through here. I'm going to relocate myself back onto the road and we'll do a loop. And what I'm planning on doing is actually driving up the drainage line and see if they pop up there. They keep moving and then stopping for a quick snack and moving again. So they are generally going west, and it looks like they might be going towards the dam. I was waiting to see if they were going to turn north towards Buffelshoek or if they were going to keep heading west, but they're definitely heading west. Now, as I navigate my way out here, which is a tricky exercise at the best of time, Scott has a bird to show you, and I have trees to dodge, so I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back. Just in time to see this African hawk eel lighten its load, and it may take off at any second now. It's quite a typical maneuver for raptors to make before flying off. It's an incredibly beautiful bird of prey. That's one of my favorites, and I'm waiting for the day when we get to see them hunting. It's going to happen at some stage. This is probably one of the resident pair that are nesting here on Djuma. Their nest, sadly, is not easy for us to see, so we don't spend too much time there. But with a little bit of research that I've done, well done, Andrew. Off it goes. With a little bit of research that I have done, they usually have 5 square kilometer to 10 square kilometer territories that they live in. And that means that I'm fairly certain that this is one of the happy couple that are resident here at Djuma. And I hope you enjoyed that quick view of that awesome bird as Jamie gets into a better position for you guys with the elephants. It sounds like she's in a tricky spot there. So why don't you stay with us for a few more minutes and we'll see if we can find you something else interesting before she's in position again. Andrew and I have just been discussing our plans as to what we are going to find on Arathusa, and we have both come up with the consensus that Shadow and her cub Sindile are going to be high up on the list of priorities. I haven't heard any updates from the guys on the radio yet, but I'm hoping they might have some tracks of those animals, or who knows, maybe they've already found them. Failing the latter, we will go through some of the areas where we know they like to spend time and start trying to work out where exactly they've been hiding for the last few days. Just to update you, the Sabi Sands are still on track with all of the inoculations that Sindile requires after coming into contact with the rabbit dog. So nothing to worry about there, everything's under control. And that's great news, and well done to the Sabi Sands and the vets that have been involved. It's a tricky business treating wild animals for obvious reasons. It's far easier for us to arrive at a hospital and get the necessary treatment, but different when you are dealing with wild animals. And they've done a great job so far, and I'm sure will continue to do so going forward. And Jamie has made her way back onto a road, hasn't found the elephants, but has found something else that she would like to show you. So enjoy, and we will catch up with you all a little bit later.
Welcome back, and whilst I haven't found the elephants, I have managed to find the road. And also, if we peer into this thicket, you'll see those flashes of brown moving between the trees, and those are the Nyala that I mentioned earlier that were running away from the elephants. They got quite the fright. There was a tiny little baby, but it's so thick in there that I can't actually find it to show you. It was really very cute, but they've disappeared off. And I'm still on my mission to see if we can catch up with those elephants on the drainage line. The nice thing is this road goes directly west, so we'll be moving parallel with them, and we just have to get there at the right time, pick the right spot for them to pop out into that drainage line. Yesterday when I was following the two lionesses, the two Nkuhuma lionesses, Jeandré, have you spotted? Oh, yes, there's an elephant. Well done. They're moving through very thick vegetation. Let's keep moving with them. They are there for flashes of grey in the distance. Trying to get to an open spot. Oh, it's going to be a bum disappearing. You can see one bottom there. Here they go. We're still with them. We've just got to wait for them to move out into a nice open patch so we can figure out what they're doing. Now, the nice thing about off-roading in this block is that although it is thick, it is relatively free of aardvark burrows. Now, yesterday, following the Nkuhuma lionesses with Andrew, we had a slight moment, once again, because Murphy's Law is funny that way, where I drove over a patch of what looked like solid looking ground and it disappeared, and we went with it, or at least my left front tyre went with it. into an aardvark burrow, an old aardvark burrow. And that's the second time that's happened to me in that block, almost in the same place, I'd like to add. And it was something I was worrying about as I was driving it. But I think I did mention it even before it happened. Now, Marge, you were wondering if that kind of thing happens, does it kill the aardvark or babies, anything like that? I promise you, absolutely not. Now, that particular burrow system was an old burrow. It was abandoned. There was no sign of fresh excavation anywhere in that area. But that being said, even if it was an occupied aardvark burrow, they've got extensive networks under the ground, and the minute they start to hear a vehicle, they're going to move away from the sound. So there's no chance of squishing any aardvarks. I've certainly never done it myself, and I've never heard of it happening. So there's no risk to the young aardvark, just maybe slightly to their burrow, and quite possibly to Jigger's suspension. But we seem to have survived unscathed in that respect. I've spotted a little opening. Let's see if we can get another glimpse of the elephants as they move past us. The vegetation around a termite mound there. It's a good place to find high levels of nutrition. There you can see that walk. It's quite a fast ellie walk. They're on a mission to somewhere. Hello, big girl. Where are you guys off to? Elephants all around us coming to say hello. There's our big female who seems to be leading the group. She could well be the matriarch. She's the biggest one that I've seen so far. And she's actually got quite thick tusks for a lady. And there's a tiny weeny one who's going to come round the back there. Duck my head out of the way. Here we go. Not the youngest elephant that we've seen in the last few days, but still very, very cute. Probably about 2 years old. So still a toddler in elephant terms. Hello, hello. People coming by say hello. Oh, you've been rolling in the mud. What was that funny noise? And you can see what I mean about them being on the move. The last few times we've seen elephants, they've been moving very, very slowly. They stop to eat in an area and then they carry on. These guys have definitely got a destination in mind. I'm very curious to know where it is. I want to stay with them for as long as possible so we can figure that out. There's two options. Either they're heading into the drainage line, which would provide them with plenty of shade and green food, or they're going to the dam to drink. Either way, I can almost guarantee that you guys will be seeing an elephant herd at some point on the Djuma Dam camera. Well, we did a little bit of bundu bashing to finally get a nice clear view of these elephants. And it's something that we do on a fairly regular basis. It's also something that has to be done ethically. There are certain tree species that it's okay to drive over. They're young and springy and they'll pop back up again, as well as bush encroachment species. So there's lots of them around. But then there's also certain tree species that you most definitely avoid. A young torchwood would be a good example, but also things like apple leaves, tambuertes. These are all much rarer trees, and it's important to dodge around them. But Kevin, you were wondering how it works in a sighting. If a sighting gets called into a block, do we rely on other vehicles? And I'm thinking more, not so much as a once-off sighting like this, but obviously you mean things like that buffalo carcass that we visited on a regular basis. Trying to work out what that movement is. It's either a steenbok or a duiker. Bear with me one moment. I don't know, Jeandré, if you can see, it's all the way through that gap right in front of me, peering at us quite far away, but also been, like the Nyala, disturbed by the elephants. You can just see his ear shuffling there. Where's he gone? Oh, I think he ran away. There's a little duiker. Oh, have you got him? Oh, yes, there we go. Well done. Here's the little duiker. They can be very deceptive creatures, duiker. When you see them out of the corner of your eye, you can pretty much imagine them to be anything that you want to see, except maybe an elephant. You might struggle with that one. But they can be very easily misidentified as something like a leopard. Sorry, Kevin, I promise you I'll get back to your question once again. I'll explain a little bit about the off-roading techniques. Our elephants are slowly disappearing off, but I've picked up another friend. I know we've done this already, but there's another one. They seem to like me. We did this yesterday. Little inchworm. Let him go. Okay, buddy. Where are you going to go? Yeah, you can come. Here we go. Second one in 2 days. There you go, Baggy. Your number 100 of your species list has returned, or at least a different one, slightly larger than the one we had yesterday, but still beautifully camouflaged. And obviously found himself suddenly in an unusual environment during the off-roading moments. He might have just dropped into the car. Come to join us. Maybe he wants to be on a live safari too. Whoopsie. Where did you go? He just jumped off my hand. Okay, well, when I do find him, I will relocate him back to the bush and back onto his tree. He'll be fine down there somewhere, and I'll find him again and put him back where he belongs. But back to Kevin's question, because I'm going to do a little bit of off-roading now. When we have a regular sighting like the buffalo carcass, for example, that we visited several times, we don't rely on anybody to come with machetes or anything like that. What we do is the cars essentially make the road. And it's quite important when you're following people into a sighting, then rather have cars veering off in all different directions and making roads all the way around the sighting. You pick one route that everybody then uses so that you reduce the impact that you're having off-road. And you do it in that kind of manner. And regular driving, it only takes 3 or 4 cars to create an easy road. But the person who pioneers that road has to be very careful that they do it properly without driving over any of the tree species or any of the areas that shouldn't be driven over. So an open sodic patch without any vegetation is a no. So one of those big bare areas of soil, we don't drive over them because you're going to do serious damage. I'm going to stop here so we can say goodbye to our ellies for now, and then loop around to catch them in the drainage line. They've definitely slowed down, so we should be able to find them fairly quickly. We try not to drive over the eroded patches especially around drainage lines. It just takes one car to pick the wrong place and to rev in a strange way, getting up or down, and you immediately start to cause the start of erosion gullies. So we avoid that. And then, as I said, certain tree species are definitely not to be driven over, and we're very, very careful about that and where we drive. And it gets a little bit more tricky in summer, especially seep lines should be very strongly avoided, not only because you're bound to get stuck if you head in that direction, but also because you're going to do serious damage to the soil. It's very easy to churn up the mud in those areas. And if you do find yourself in that kind of situation, or even on a very muddy road, then typically the approach of most reserves is that you go with a spade afterwards, and you go and you dig it and you fix it. Fix the damages that you've caused. So it all depends on the area and the vegetation and the soil types. And there's certain places that I know we've said before to viewers we won't off-road. It's happened a couple of times with me and young Sindile. Whenever he moves into Tambuti thickets, I give those a bit of a miss. Okay, back we go. Loop these elephants once again and find out exactly where it is they're planning on disappearing off to. Trying to avoid taking Jeandré out with a monkey orange. And back onto the road once again. We can move fairly slowly and fairly sedately. Elephants are not in a rush. Can even stop, hopefully, to catch the little bee eater. Please stay, please stay. Perfect. There we go. Very pretty little bird. And we'll show it in honor of the fact that the Springbok rugby team is playing this afternoon. And I often have heard the little bee eater referred to as the Springbok bird, partly because it does these little hopping movements, but also because its colours are the same as the South African rugby team. So there we go, our little show of support for the World Cup that's happening at the moment in the UK. Beautiful little bird. Caught up sort of with our eddies once again. Oh, my word, they crossed the road. Not going into the drainage line at all. They're going to tuck themselves away this way. Here they are. Oh. That was not the way I expected them to go. What's up, Jigger? Making a very funny noise. Okay. Change of plan. I thought that these ellies, they might still be going into the drainage line, but they've switched from going straight west to now going southwest. And I know from experience this block is almost impossible to drive through. Now the closest dam from here is Twin Dams. There's not really any water left in Twin Dams. It's more like twin mud at the moment. I definitely wouldn't class it as a dam. We're going to start needing more of those rains soon, or else many of the regular water patches are going to dry up. Now I definitely can't follow them through this block. It's got lots and lots of monkey orange in it. It's not going to work out, especially with all of the crashing and banging. They're just going to move away from me. But let's see. I'm going to continue with my original plan, which was to head into a drainage line, because I think they might be looking for a nice, cool area to sit in the shade for the hottest part of the day, which is coming. Here comes our last elephant, straggling behind. I'm going to make his way, or her way, across the road soon. You straggling, girl. The rest of the herd's moved. See if we can roll forward. Well, oh no, she's going to come to us. Going to keep moving through. There she goes. Across the road and into the block to join her family. It's amazing to think how confined the spaces can be that these elephants can move through. It doesn't bother them at all that they're walking through a monkey orange thicket, which would be tremendously uncomfortable for you or I to do. We'd have to duck and dive and dodge the spines on the trees. But she's not bothered. She's just going to go crashing right on through. I'm still, as I was saying just before then, I'm still going to go with my original plan, which was to follow into the drainage line. But instead of going north, which was what I was going to do, we're going to go south instead and see what we can find. Several times on the beautiful colour of the bush at the moment. It really is looking stunningly green, but we're starting to look for flashes of colours as well in terms of the new flowers that are coming through. And Deborah, who is watching in Canada, you wanted to know if I've seen any new flowers. Yes, I have, and it was an important reminder that maybe I might need to brush up on some of the names, especially the Latin ones. I saw a bright orange flower yesterday and I absolutely couldn't think of its name. But we're still waiting. We're going to have a little bit more rain as well before the masses of them start to come out. But they are coming. They are definitely coming. So far the most common ones that I've seen have been the tree wisterias, which I actually showed on a sunrise safari about a month ago. And then the baboon's tails as well, which were out and about. To the drainage line, and let's see where these elephants pop out. Might be nice to sit below them, and I'm certainly looking for the more shady parts of the drainage line. It's already very, very warm. It's going to be blazing hot today. I love that tree archway. It's almost like the entrance gateway to this part of the drainage line. Pushed over bush willow. And I'd be quite content to just drive around these drainage lines all day. if I could. They're beautiful, and you've got a very, very high chance of spotting something secretive. There's an enormous tambuti, one of the trees I was referring to when I said that we can't drive over them. Obviously that one might have been a little big to drive over anyway. Keep your eyes peeled as well, not only for the elephants that are going to pop out soon, but drainage lines like this, for any new viewers, make perfect hiding places for something like a leopard. If there is a leopard sneaking around in here, they're going to be tucked away in the shade at this point, most likely, although leopards don't follow the rule books at all. But theoretically they should be tucked away in the shade, and they're so beautifully camouflaged that we really have to keep our eyes peeled. Now, to the best of my knowledge, the elephants like this particular area of the drainage line, and that's where I'm guessing they're going to come and pop out. At the moment though, here's a pretty little Nyala. There are a whole herd of them actually. And this is definitely their preferred habitat. Nyala and bushbuck have make the most of this thick drainage line vegetation. I can hear oxpeckers calling, which makes me suspect that the elephants disturbed something in the block that had oxpeckers sitting on it. Could well be in Nyala like these ones. We're just listening to the sound of, or listening for the sound of those elephants moving through the block. I'm not sure if you can hear the zipping sound of the oxpeckers, but I think that heralds, or could well herald the approach of elephants. I wonder if there weren't some buffalo hiding in there that have been disturbed. They're very upset about something. So far, no sign of the ellies. I want to just carry on a little bit, explore the drainage line a little bit further, and have a look at how beautiful that is. Definitely one of my favorite parts of the reserve. Look at that beautiful topography. It's very, very striking. And drainage lines come with the most amazing trees. Because they carry slightly higher nutrient levels, they've got the big species associated with them. Things like big tambutis, big leadwoods, and in this case a tree wisteria, probably one of the biggest tree wisterias I think I've seen. That's the green leaves on the right of your screen there. And as we loop around, we're looking at tambuti thickets, big knob thorns, and big leadwoods as well. It is really, really pretty. And you can see how blue the sky is looking as well. It's going to be a glorious day. It's 8:15 in the morning, and it's already very warm. I think perhaps today is a poolside, or at least a dip in the pool to cool off a little bit. Okay. Still no sign of our elephants. Let's carry on. I know that there's also a pair of Wahlberg's eagles that are nesting in this area, not just the ones on Wahlberg's Road, but around here, so we'll be keeping an eye out for them as well. So many things to look for. think the grey go-away bird has spotted what I'm looking for before I have. Here's the Wahlbergs. Wahlberg's eagle is soaring around, and that's what the go-away birds have picked up upon. That's why they're shouting and saying, "Go away." They're responding to the presence of the aerial predators. And that's one of the pale morphs ones. I think the nesting pair down at Twin Dams is one pale morph and one dark or normal coloured rufous Wahlberg's eagle. And I think I found their nest site. Now let's hold thumbs, because I still want to loop around a little bit into this drainage line. Let's hold thumbs that our signal will stay. Bear with us if we go through a slightly patchy bit, just because the walls are quite high. But I have gone through this drainage line before and it's been okay. And I want to look for a leadwood, because I have a question that I want to answer. But I think it would be better if I could find one to show you at the same time. Okay, let us continue on our mission. My word, it's hot down here. Summer's here, summer's very definitely here. I'm sure there's a big leadwood up ahead here. Look at how beautiful it is down here. We'll go nice and slowly. Vast jackalberry towering over us. And promising pockets of shade for Jeandré and myself to go and hide underneath when we need to. And you can see why I say it's one of my favorite places to be. We're looking at tambourties at the moment, young tambourtie trees that are overhanging. And now underneath a bush willow. One of the acacias, looks like it might be a sentinel, and that giant up ahead of us is one of the most amazing trees of the low veld, a jackalberry tree with its dark bark and usually quite dense cover that it provides. Perfect place for hiding a big bird's nest or something along those lines. Now you can see exactly why we love being down here. It comes with the most spectacular scenery. It's not, however, coming with any elephants, but never mind. We've got other things to look at for now until they decide to make their appearance. Now, where's a good leadwood that I can answer Dodie's question? This one will be the best bet. It's one of my favorite trees on the reserve. In fact, I think leadwood falls into my top 5 trees. I don't know that I could choose necessarily a favorite tree, but I definitely say that leadwood falls into one of the top 5. And we're looking at it now. And this tree that we're looking at is probably a good couple of 100 years old. Just imagine all of the things it's borne witness to in its time here. It's probably at some point even had a leopard sitting in it with a kill, or just using it as a perfect vantage point. Now the thing about leadwood is, as its name suggests, it is very, very hard wood. So 1 cubic meter of this tree weighs a ton. It's incredibly solid and as a result almost completely resistant to things like wood borers or termites. It takes a very long time for them to even make a dent in it, and I know that in the Kruger Park they've done some carbon dating on a stump there, and they've worked out that the stump or the tree started growing in 1100 and something, I can't remember the exact year, and died in 1600 and something, and it's still standing today, or at least part of it is still standing today. And as you can imagine, as human beings, being what we are, people then loved to use it as perfect building material. It made great things for things like railway sleepers and building materials for houses. It's also a very attractive light-coloured wood. Made it perfect for all those kinds of things. And when they first tried to utilize it as a building material, they even tried floating it down rivers like you might with other timber, and it promptly sank to the bottom because leadwood is so dense that it sinks in water. But what that has led to now, because we now know so much about them in terms of their aging process and how they resist termites and other things, is it's got to the point now where they're a completely protected species. So Dodie, just to let you know, you cannot cut down or saw a leadwood, even if it's dead. You can pick up the fallen pieces on the ground. They make brilliant firewood, burn for a very, very long time, and produce very, very hot coals. But that is a very protected tree species. Now, there's another vehicle behind me, much to my surprise. So we can move out of the way. Theoretically we can. Might take a bit of maneuvering. I don't think we can move out of your way too fast. Okay, thanks, sorry. Can you get around us from this angle? Cool. We're stuck in a little bit of a groove here. And Jackie... We've just got some of the landowners coming through, so we'll just have a look at some more of the bush willows over there. Hi guys. Hi. Good, and you? Okay, so continuing on with our leadwood conversation, they are protected tree species. They make perfect little... This is an entire ecosystem in a tree. And they will contain all kinds of things. They make perfect homes for squirrels and snakes. Incredible trees. And for firewood, if you can find some fallen dead stuff off a leadwood, you can collect it and burn it. And the ash is brilliant as a toothpaste. So if you mix it up with water a little bit and mix it, you'll get a perfect toothpaste. It's very high in calcium, which is why it also makes a good whitewash as well if you use the ash. But mostly it's just a beautiful tree to look at. It's got that very distinctive vertical growth of the branches. Okay, let's continue on our mission. The guys who just came past didn't give any indication that there might be elephants coming through. So I don't think that they've come through just yet. I still think they will. They might be on their way to a different dam site. But let's continue on our mission up the drainage line. I'm surprised we met with another car. It's the first time that's ever happened to me down here. We're almost at the end now. But there's a lot of nice, very appealing looking cool shade ahead. drainage lines is that you get so many species come through. And you start to see some of the much shyer things like bushes. So keep your eyes peeled for the bright flashes of color as we travel underneath these knob thorns. And the boarishes, thick and dense and green, and I'm actually quite tempted just to stop in the shade and settle down there. You can see as we've gone through this corner here, we can actually see on the side walls where it's been washed away in flood times. And this is all water damage that's moved through here. Another thing we've got to keep an eye out for. It's amazing to think that in the floods of last year sort of February, March, our car probably would have been underwater at the high floods. I was working in the area, but not back. I was up from where we are now, and I was working there during the floods. And the water level, it's absolutely astronomical to see, and it happens so fast. You wouldn't believe it. All of a sudden, these dry drainage lines, just like the one we're driving in. Oh, sorry, Jeandré, we're just stuck under here. And I can't wait to see if this year the beautiful down here. We're coming out more towards Twin Dams, so we should be able to see, and I may be able to talk to you clearly a bit better. Last thing I want to show you whilst we are traversing the drainage line is something I spotted here the other day. Let me just make my way to it. I wonder if this is what I think it is. There we go. Looking at that hole in the wall there. Whilst I don't think it is what I thought it was. It's very common to find bee eaters and kingfishers will make perfect little nest sites in walls like this. I'm trying to look for, I don't think I have a picture with me at the moment of what it looks like inside, but they make these beautiful little tunnels that they excavate themselves in these sand walls. And I'm sure many of you would have seen the pictures of the thousands and thousands of those bright pink carmine bee eaters that nests in these walls. Now, our ellies have not made an approach down to the drainage line as I was hoping they would, but it seems as though Scott has found an elephant bull to show you. So let's head across to him and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. And finally we found some life here in Arathusa, and it's a beautiful scene. A big elephant bull taking some time to coat his hot grey skin with this cool mud, as well as a bachelor herd of buffalo bulls that you would have seen briefly in the background earlier. What I think I may do is reposition to get the sunlight in our favor. So give us a second. Just gonna shoot around and get you a better view of this ellie there, the buffalo you saw briefly. There are some tracks of a female leopard on Central Road West, which is just behind us, heading towards the airstrip, but it didn't look exceptionally fresh, probably from early last night, and I'm guessing they were the tracks of shadow, so good prospects for this afternoon. We'll maybe come back here and see what we can find. Hello, boy. As you were. Don't mind us. He's going to return to look at that, absolutely awesome. Playing with his trunk. Maybe he's going to continue to mud bath in this bigger wallow where he can churn up more mud with his feet. Look at him sampling the ground with his trunk.
You're stuck
With other elephants nearby. You may have heard the drone of some spider hunting wasps fly past there a second ago. I'm guessing that's what he's doing. I think he's listening to other elephants. These infrasonic frequencies travel through the earth and then up through the elephant's feet and trunk if he rests them on the ground like that, into audible messages. Recognize them, but my memory can let me down from time to time. But that's something to take note of. And aren't we lucky? He's very focused on feeding. And he's just walked right up to us. Look at the size of him. He's huge. This is awesome. Probably only about 4 or 5 meters away from our vehicle. There's Andrew giving a bit of a perspective. And he's feeding on round leaf teak, the fresh new shoots round-leaf teak. And it's the elephants that are responsible for bonsaiing these bushes. If there were no elephants around, they'd grow into beautiful big trees. Teak is a hardwood. But in this area, the elephants love feeding on them. This time of the year, he's eating the whole branch that he snaps off, but in a few months from now, they'll only feed on the bark that they strip off from this very same tree. So it's interesting to see how they alter their diet or the way they feed on any specific plant over the different times of the year. That was just a mouthful of leaves that he stripped off the branches that he threw into his mouth. Look at all the mud covered around the side of his mouth there. This is wonderful. What a great close-up view. Got one or two very long eyelashes. And a beautifully textured coat. Look at all that wrinkly skin. Still lots of mud on his foot from his little mud wallow earlier. The fork-tailed drongo has just arrived on the scene. It's a little black bird in the bush ahead of him. And I'm sure, oh, it's decided to go off elsewhere. But it could well return in the hope that this elephant chases up some small bugs and insects as it feeds, and that way allows the drongo to display its acrobatic skills, catching its food on the wing. Now I'm guessing he's probably around 5 tons in weight. And an elephant of this side will probably need to feed on about 200 kilograms of vegetation every day as a rough guess, 400 pounds plus. And he's doing a good job decimating this little grove of round-leaf teak, which will probably make up a tiny percentage of his daily nutritional needs. His feet crunching the dry leaves as he moves along. Oh, he's changed over to a bush willow that he's just had a mouthful of. And he's sampling a few other plants as he moves along here. Going to reposition one more time. He's heading into some fairly thick vegetation now though, so we'll probably get one last view of him. And then maybe head across to the buffalo bulls, which are just on the other side of the airstrip. he going to do to this marula tree? Is he just going to feed on the little saplings that are sprouting up at the base of it? Well, I was hoping he may try and pry some of the bark off. That's something we haven't showed you for quite some time. But you can see a scar on the bottom of this marula tree that could well have been from elephant trying to pry the bark off. It's quite low though, that piece, but still possible that elephants went down and used their tusks to break off a chunk of the bark to chew on. Wonderful. Well, that was a great close-up view of a big ellie bull. Sadly, we don't get too many elephant bulls, at least of a decent size, moving around in the Sabi Sands. I can't explain why, and I've got no theories as to why they don't come here. But we don't often see them, whereas in the Kruger Park, not far from here, the Greater Kruger Park, which we are a part of, there tend to be better numbers of them. You'll see the little brown dots, which are the buffalo resting, chewing the cud in all likelihood up ahead of us. Let's go have a quick look there. Female leopard's hiding. She was heading straight towards the airstrip, probably about half a mile behind us. I had her last track. Now, some of you may be seeing this newly tarmacked airstrip for the first time. It was a dirt airstrip not so long ago. My airplanes are coming to land because we're going to park right in the middle of it. Wow, there's one buffalo here on the right, Andrew, that's got serious fashion on the go at the moment. He's got mud piled up on his horns from when he had a wallow probably earlier this morning, probably in the same place where that elephant was. Look at that. Oof. You really do have quite a grumpy face, Mr. Buffalo. I wonder what you think of us. The look you're giving us means to me that you're not highly happy with our presence, but this is buffalo bulls. They can be quite cantankerous old fellows. And maybe they had a rough night being chased around by the Birmingham boys last night, hard to tell. But there's a strong chance that they have had some lion interaction recently. Sadly, I still have very poor comms with Nikki and Jess in the final control room, hence my lack of conversation with you guys. There's one last area that I would like to check before the end of the drive comes to a close, and that's an area where Shadow was heading. Quite often her young male cub Sindile spends a lot of time when she's out hunting. Like a plane has obviously landed here. There's one up ahead of us on the airstrip in the distance. So good to know that the airstrip is fully functional now. But we're not going to take you to look at an airplane and rather continue into a spot where I'm hoping to find some further sign of these leopard. That way we'll have a better idea of what's going on this afternoon. So we are basically now hoping to lay a good foundation for the sunset safari. Don't gather as much in tracks on the road that are left behind as the animals move through these areas. Also, as we head in this direction, we'll be getting, I'm hoping, better communication with the final control room, which means we'll be able to chat again. I'm feeling a bit lonely out here, not sharing any of your questions or comments. Too long ago that James, Jamie and myself headed out on tracking team in the morning. I think one of the vehicles was in hospital at that stage and it was just Brent out on drive, and we managed to successfully track down Shadow and Sandila into this area just off our left with a kill. So that's a happy memory of this area. The tracks actually veered off from this little mud wallow that had filled up with water, and that actually had a little drink down in here. Doubt we'd be able to see any of their footprints anymore, because probably a lot of other animals came down and utilized this wallow before it completely dried up after the rains. But that's where they had a little drink before veering off into the bush. Have a quick look on my phone to see if, oh, there we go, no need. I finally got comms with the outside world again, and I'm told there's only 10 minutes left of the safari, so let's try and make the most of it and see what else we can find you. Spiders are increasing in numbers drastically, and this morning we've been wiping our faces numerous times to get rid of all the spider webs. And looking forward to finding you some more spiders to see. The golden orb-web spider is probably going to be one of the main spiders that we do get to show you. It's large in size, easy to see, and it's got beautiful colorations on it. That's one of the most common large spiders we get out here. Thankfully it's not dangerous at all to us, even though it is quite big. But if any of you are arachnophobic, best you start mentally preparing yourself for quite a few spider encounters in the coming weeks and months. Found the culprit that was involved in me crashing into a marula tree not too long ago, and it's perched up in this marula tree just ahead of us. I'm 99% certain it will be the same lilac-breasted roller that I was trying to show you, and in doing so I was looking backwards to see if I could find a potential nesting cavity, and before I knew it I had driven into a massive marula tree. And they, at this time of the year especially, are very territorial, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw its mate at any stage. They do form monogamous bonds, as do a lot of the birds out here. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, here we go. Not the prettiest of calls though. Where's your mate? Now, one thing that we are going to be able to show you, it's going to take a few attempts to get it right, is Andrew's just going to have a shot at a fast moving bat lure. It's not going to be easy, but worth a gamble. Very pretty bird of prey, and on a hot day like this, the birds of prey are going to be moving around a lot more. And it's the exact gamble that Andrew just took now. It could have quite easily turned and flown alongside us and made for a beautiful shot, but instead it flew right behind the antenna, which helps get this picture out to you. But the same thing we will go through with the lilac-breasted roller. They do this awesome display where they'll slowly circle high up into the sky, making that same call that we actually heard it making now. And once it gets to a high point, it does a series of stalls where it folds in its wings and loops down and up and down and up, and then once it's lowered itself to kind of a low altitude, almost the top of the trees, it will then teeter from side to side. So it's two different rolls that it does, a kind of vertical roll as well as a sideways roll, and we will be trying to show you that awesome display, which they are doing quite a lot at the moment. Great, we've got such an awesome angle here, as if it does take off now, we'll be able to get you an incredible slow motion.
I can't go anymore.
Clip? You can't zoom in anymore?
Well, I can zoom in, but I can't tilt it up anymore.
Sadly, the tripod has caused this to be the best we can do in this situation, so
let me try and push it. No, I can't.
Well tried, Andrew. So these are the obstacles that are up against us when trying to show you the birds up in the sky, but we'll leave it to its business, calling its mate. So just going to spend a couple more minutes with me and then send you back across to Jamie for her goodbyes. But once again, thanks for joining in the safari this morning. The highlight for me was most certainly seeing that cute baby giraffe and spending a considerable amount of time with it, and probably seeing the best giraffe cycling I've ever seen in my whole career in the bush. We had such an awesome angle of that little baby suckling. I guess a lot of you are also relieved that the buffalo carcass has kind of come to a close, and we probably won't be heading back there anytime soon. And apologies if it did gross you out, some of the scenes from over there. But like I said yesterday, we can't sugarcoat everything, and it's important to understand everything that goes on here, not only the pretty and beautiful things, but some of the less appetizing or pretty things to look at, and that was a good example of that. A big thanks to Andrew for his wonderful camera work this morning, as well as to Nikki and Jess in the final control room. Well, probably pulling their hair out due to the radio issues that we thought we had solved, that clearly we haven't. Anyway, that is the joys of this live safari. There's a lot of technical things that go into it, and slowly we will hopefully fine-tune all of these issues. But for now, they are giving us a bit of a headache. Anyway, thanks again for all the fun, and see you out there this afternoon. Over to Jamie.
Back, trying to sneak up on a bird for you for the last few moments of the, oh, they're not going to stick around, the last few moments of the sunrise safari. I wanted to show you the red-billed or the green wood hoopoes that are fluttering about, but they just don't want to stay still, disappearing off. Come on, birds. Last few minutes, you can be on television. I don't think so. We're going to spend the morning chasing them. By the way, I did find the elephants. The elephants were sleeping in the drainage line just where we first started, where we went in underneath that entrance archway. And I think my pursuit is not going to result in the bird sighting. Here we go. I think I'll stop here and give it up for the moment. But a big thank you to Jeandré for all of his fantastic camera work, and to you, the viewers, for your wonderful questions. Nikki and Jess and FC and Alex for all of his technical genius. And we will see you all for the Sunset Safari. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and we will catch up with you then. Cheers for now.